fresh off the press, I just got my very, very first message on the online dating site I joined yesterday, like less than 12 hours ago, if you exclude my sleeping time. Dude, first of all, I've been laughing like someone's tickling me because I really cannot believe it. I can't stop laughing. Oh my God. I don't even know what I'm laughing at. Oh my God, if I knew I was going to laugh this much, I should have joined this thing 3 years ago. It's been a rough 3 years. I would have been laughing my way through like life. Hopefully the laughs last. So, the laughs last. He who laughs last. So, first of all, let me give you like an update. So I found my boyfriend. Remember I told you that I lost that guy that was like, this is... And then I updated my profile and blah, 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 blah. That's in probably the previous podcast. So I was like, So I found him and I swiped on him. This is after second chance scrolling through, because he was one of the first profiles, and I started counting how many people I'm swiping through to get to this profile, if I was going to get to it. And I got to the first 100, second 100, and probably around the third 100, believe it or not. I was like, dang, that's a lot of swiping. I can't even believe that I've swiped through that many people since joining. But it's fast. I mean, you just go click, and like, anyway. Then I saw a couple of people. I was like, these people look like, some of them look like I just would like to know them for whatever reason, even if it doesn't end up anywhere. So, which I don't like that I was thinking that way. But I was like, let's give these few people a chance in case they would have swiped on me. Let me swipe on them, because I learned that if I X them, then there's no chance for them to hurt me and for me to see it, because I've X'd them. Because I think that was one of the questions. Check out the previous podcast. I think that's the first one talking about this whole thing. Now, oh my gosh. By the way, I started writing responses to this person. Probably I wrote one and then another one, and then I deleted it. I was like, let's edit it. And then probably wrote like 3. And then I just couldn't stop laughing. And I just deleted all of them. Oh my God. So I got my first match. And I thought, this is exciting. And I thought, so I was like, okay, so what's going to happen now? Because I would prefer it. I'm still very old-fashioned when it comes to dating and a lot of things in life. For the guy to message me first, I'm sure he would love it if I messaged him first too. But I'm just saying, I didn't make the rules, so don't be mad at me. I then waited, and I thought, who cares? So I sent a wave when I realized that you can wave at people. I thought, okay, let's just wave at him, I guess. I feel like that's like the old Facebook's equivalent of poking. Man, did I block a lot of people who poked me back in the day. But one guy poked me, and it changed my entire life. Well, kind of at the time, just like it was an ex who had ghosted. We literally had temporarily lived with each other. He stayed at my house for maybe a month or longer. I can't remember how long he was doing a course in my hometown. And I guess he had intentions of just like worming his way into my life. I owned my condo, and I guess he was going to make a life there for himself and just like live at my house. A lot of people I was meeting around the time that I lived in that condo would be so impressed, because I was in my 20s when I bought it, that I owned my own home, and they would want to, it seemed like they wanted to be a part of my life because of the fringe benefits, so to speak. And I was just like, no, like, obviously I'm not dumb. I'm smart enough to have bought my first home already, amongst other things. So, no. So I guess, this one, whatever, he had, looking back, he was really actually really gross. I'm very lucky that I didn't end up with him. But he ghosted, and I was very much in a relationship, and he was like, he's going to go back to his family temporarily, or whatever. And I said to him, you're leaving for good, and I'll never hear from you again. That my gut feeling tells me that, and I know I'm right. I knew I was right. He kept saying, what are you talking about? I'm in love with him, or whatever. I said, I'm telling you right now, I'm right. And he changed his phone number. Anyway, is that story in my blog? I don't think so. But I have a blog, babalabrook.com. So that guy poked me years later, after I had no closure. Not that you ever really get closure. I don't in a lot of relationships, or all of them. But when he poked me, I thought, oh my gosh. And then, later on I found out that he actually had been updating himself with my Facebook and other social media. He was following just like on the sly, and he knew everything that was going on. He said, you recently went home, and you recently this, and you whatever. He was following everything. Like I said, it's just one of those creepy people. You had no idea at the time. He's the kind of guy who is kind of like an equivalent of a Tinder swindler in a way. You are none the wiser. But, I loved our relationship and my time with him, I guess. I mean, it was, he lived overseas when we met. It could have easily been a scam. And then he moved back to South Africa, where I lived at the time. And he was from there originally. And we pursued a relationship. So it was a very exciting time knowing him and all of that. So I poked him on Facebook, and I was like, basically I was giggling just like how I just was, like, oh my gosh, because to hear from him after a few years of not knowing what the heck happened. I think I had found out that he was in Joburg at that time, or Johannesburg, and had now moved to Johannesburg, which is not where my condo was, and I was renting it out. So I was living in Joburg. That's what we call Johannesburg. And within hours of him poking me, he was in my driveway, and we went on, it's not a date, but I went for answers. So I say that because it's contrary to all the stuff I was saying about poking, like, no, you're going to get blocked or whatever. That person deserved to be blocked. Can you imagine if you just blocked him after that? It would have been great. He was recently blocked. The story goes on, you know what I mean? If I tell you he was recently blocked, and it's 2025. By the way, it's 9:10. It's 9:10. I need to adjust the clock. 9:10 in the morning of Friday, January 31, 2025. For him to have recently been blocked now, when I've been in America for more than 10 years, just goes to show you how long the story was. And he had disappeared for years prior to that. And we were, you know what I mean? I'll tell you that story some other time. It's decent. It's a decent story, if I do say so myself. I waved at one guy, didn't get a wave back or anything. That was an hour and a half ago. And it's neither here nor there, like, whatever, dude. And then I got a few more matches. Not much, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, if you don't count the one I waved at. And I looked at their profiles, I was like, all right. But, like, I'm not trying to wave at any of these people or do nothing. I'm going to go back to the original plan. Let them initiate the conversation. Why should they be the ones? And also, I know I'm not well-versed on Facebook online dating, which is where I am now. I am also not a complete idiot. I am well-versed on human behavior and online dating. And I know that some people do the swipes. They apparently more so guys, will only swipe right. I heard about this when Tinder first came out. People said people will just swipe right only to boost their ego when they get matches. That's crazy, because what if we're also swiping right? That is, I hope that was like a false premise, because that's crazy. Back to the issue at hand. So 5 more, right? Minus the wave guy. And I wasn't going to think at them. Why am I recapping this? I literally just told this story. And now I come on here because why not? Lo and behold, someone sent me a message. I was like, ah! Because it's one of the people I matched with and they're not too shabby. That's why I swiped on them. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. And I had just looked at all of them. And of all of this, only 5, I even said out loud, definitely is not going to be this guy on the red carpet. Like, I literally said out loud, I am not his type at all. I'm not saying I am now just because he wrote me, but I said that out loud. And I even thought to myself, hey, be careful. You need to watch your self-talk around this dating site, because you've been saying a lot of things that are not positive about yourself since you started this swiping and looking at these people and rating myself. Unfortunately, when you put yourself out there in the market, on the market, you're going to be able to rate. Wait, is that fair? That you have to rate yourself, or do you just go for who you like and take it from there? Anyway, so I said that, and I said to myself, just be careful, blah, blah, blah. And lo and behold, he writes me, because I kept you here for so long, rambling for 11 minutes, let me read you the message. Oh my God, I probably shouldn't make a habit of giving you all the information, because what if somebody goes to my podcast and checks it out? One of my pictures shows that I have a podcast, right, on the thing. I have photos from my travels. In fact, I was even thinking, I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to caption, there's no way to caption the photos on the profile thing. I thought there was going to be. So I think I'm going to go to the photos and write some kind of captioning on the photo itself, because I'm proud of why I chose those photos. One was taken in Guatemala, one in El Salvador. It's outside the thing that says El Salvador, but the photo was cropped, so you don't see all of it. Guatemala, El Salvador, one, I think there's one from Costa Rica, and one is from, I don't know if I ended up putting the one from Mexico. I would have loved to. And then there's one from my house, because I'm dressed in a suit and they think whatever. Now the story's starting to. Now the message is, hi, nice to meet you. How are you? Do you have a podcast? I have one also. Dude, first of all, it's a lot of words that I would have expected from online people. And I don't know. I don't want to judge him or whatever and be too excited and whatever. But just the fact that someone messaged me is thrilling for some reason. Holy moly. It's going to be a long, hot summer. Guess which show I've been watching? Guess which show that line is from? Okay, I'll talk to you soon. Toodles! Oh my gosh, am I going to end up with a whole dating series on here? Should we start a new podcast for just that? No, not really. Actually, there is a portion of my lifetime and my recordings where I talk a lot about one subject. It's weight related. It touches on other aspects of my life too, naturally. Naturally for me, because it's the center of my universe, really, sadly. And I'm still trying to figure out, how am I going to do that? Like, am I going to post? By the time you hear this, I probably would have posted that already. But let me just finish the thought, because we already started. I'm like, should I do one of those episodes and then a different one randomly from a different time, because I like to do things in chronological order. It makes it easy for me, really, more than anything else. This dude who messaged me, should I do a new podcast over this? I probably should just add it to the other one. But let me finish here and then I'll decide when, in post. He is, oh my gosh. Imagine if, because I was toying with the idea of posting these episodes, like getting started posting today on the dating stuff. And I was like, no, this is going to discombobulate me. So I'm like, he gave me his podcast and I immediately went and checked before I even responded. And the funny thing is, he says he couldn't find mine, so that's weird. Like, I'm like, what do you mean he couldn't find mine? Like, that's one of the reasons I have my picture on there, so that if nothing else, I get listeners from this mess that is a dating site. I digress a lot. I'm sure I'm not digressing, but it's all over the place, but let me hurry up. He has a podcast, right? So I go and I check it, and somewhere in his profile on the podcast now, it says that he's Persian. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. I couldn't really tell. I'm not good with races and skin colors and whatever. I don't see color. So Persian, I was like, interesting. And then I'm like, dentist. I was like, oh my gosh. Many, many moons ago, I was dating online. I lived in Hollywood. And I started chatting with a Persian dentist. What are the freaking chances? The dude, well, I feel like at a certain age you should stop being a dude. This guy was older, so this man, or creeper in this case, by the way, spoiler alert, lived in West LA and came here and I guess changed careers, but by trade or by whatever, he was a dentist. So he came here and at the time that I met him, he was a limo driver. This sounds like something from a movie. Not the storyline, but part of it. I don't want to stigmatize someone, tell you what part. You would decide. He came and picked me up from my apartment in Hollywood, and we went on the date. Do I even want to talk about this? I don't really want to. But he reminded me. Anyway, the bottom line of that, it ended up being creepy. I ended up jumping up and hiding from him in his own apartment, locking myself in his bathroom. I'm not pleading, just yelling like, you get me the fuck out of here. I'm calling the police and whatever. But I'm in his bathroom. I guess, yeah, it does make sense, because if I had called the police, then upon their arrival, I would have left. Unless, he would have just let himself into his own freaking bathroom. I don't know. I think he dropped me too, somewhere in the process. I think I told this story on the blog. I don't mean to send everybody to the blog. I know there's a listening medium, and if you want to read, you can go and read. Maybe at a different time we'll talk about this. Please, I don't want to be low vibrationing right now. In fact, I'm trying to up my vibration as it is, because I'm just I'm in a weird place. It's not too bad, but yeah, I'm working on that. That is that on that. I know it's possible to meet somebody from another country, or not necessarily, maybe this guy was born here, but I'm just saying, I know, you can meet another Nigerian and it shouldn't be weird, but I'm just saying the two things coming together in my mind took me to that, and that's my story. I'll stick to it. All right, let me go back. I'm kind of bummed that, I don't know if I mentioned this in the previous episode, that I've reached my limit of swiping. Not only can I no longer swipe today, and that happened before noon today. Not only that, I can't even second second whatever, second wind. When you give second chance to people you've swiped already on, you can't even do that. Those people are done. Everybody's done. There will be no more swiping for me today. Kind of sucks. All right, let me go. Talk to you soon.